So this time around, I wanted to do something a little bit
Nickelodeon
different
All-Star
bro,
Brawl.
for this game. And for these particular characters are all an all-in-one pack with one show represented in this particular universe pack. So I wanted to change it up a little bit, and see how you guys would like it. Maybe some of these packs will focus one particular show or one NCU, one Nickelodeon cartoon, or one show from an NCU from the Nickelodeon cartoon universe. And I wanted to start with Fairly Odd Parents, for example, like one of the hardest and most difficult characters that could probably be able to get into the game at some point. And of course, I don't know everything that goes on with the licensing with this particular show, but seeing some of these older games, and even one of them in particular, Nickelodeon Extreme Tennis, which is a mobile game that you can play exclusive to the Apple Arcade. I wanted to really bring that out and start talking about that. And Timmy is one of the most recent characters that got into that game. How on earth did he even get into a mobile game, but not a major game like this that's well deserving of more characters and more fitting for a game for him? Outside of that, no, nothing against the power tennis. I was gonna say Nickelodeon Power Tennis, thinking about Mario Power Tennis, but Nickelodeon Extreme Tennis, the mobile game. If he got into that game, how can he not get into All-Star Brawl? Now, I'm gonna just throw this out there as well while I'm talking about these characters. Let's open up the roster. If they're not gonna be in this current version of the game, maybe they're gonna be in the future title, maybe the sequel. What would it be like for them to get into Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl 2? Maybe that's more likely.
Select your brawler.
So we don't know what's going on as far as the characters, and we still have that crossplay that needs to come out, but there's still that mystery of, is there going to be more characters that are probably in the works, or maybe crossplay is just going to be the last major feature or the major update. But it's got to be a big update on its way, and this month of March is almost over. I'm going to say that soon. We're getting ready to head into April. Are we going to get that crossplay? Are we going to be able to have that particular big update that's going to contain that particular feature and then some? So they'll probably come out with the announcement, since it came out on accident on the Nintendo Switch and PC, maybe at one of these days, maybe even possibly this week, or maybe the next week, which is the last 4 week of March. It could end up coming out, and we'll end up finding out what the future holds for this particular game. Now, the characters that you guys see, and even some of them that you could probably see faded, and when you guys end up checking this video out, there's all sorts of characters that can get in the world of Fairly Odd Parents. Fairly Odd Parents is definitely one of my favorite shows, and when you think about Nickelodeon, most people out there will also end up thinking about Fairly Odd Parents or just other particular characters in some of their favorite shows, some of the top shows that they watch, alongside of SpongeBob, TMNT, Danny Phantom, Hey Arnold, and many more. Everyone has grown up in different time eras, and not everybody has seen these shows and ended up watching them when they were still on the air at the time, because some of these shows have been taken off and other shows have been introduced into the spotlight, like the Loud House and many others, and SpongeBob still going on and on and on with the Avatar, The Last Airbender, Avatar, The Last Airbender, and you got Korra, The Legend of Korra. These shows are most of the Avatar and Loud House and many others out there, and Big Nate, I'll just throw out there. There's just so many other modern shows that are new in comparison to Cat Dog and Rugrats and many others. Wild Thornberrys and the Ninja Turtles have been around for quite some time, but they're still doing things for the TMNT series. But shows like Fairly Odd Parents, I really would love to see in this game, and that's why I picked them first, as a little bit of testing the waters to see if you guys would like to see these kind of packs that are more focused on that one particular show. And if you guys like this, I'll probably make more of these in a mix of mixing up other characters combined into one individual universe pack. So this is the Fairly Odd Parents DLC pack, and maybe some kind of likelihood of getting these characters in a future title at some point, or maybe a future update. for some of these characters. So I only did 4 characters, and just some of the characters that you guys could probably be able to see: Crimson Chin and Jordan Von Strangle, one of the most powerful and the strongest fairy in the fairy world, in all the fairy world, can get into this game for sure. But I have other characters that I end up picking, 4 different ones in particular that I wanted to start with for this pack. And there's so many other characters I want to mention beforehand, before I start getting into these characters. AJ, Chester, McBad, I talked about him in the past a while ago from sometime last year, and how he can play in this game. Chester can be a great character himself. Mr. Crocker, who is also in this as well, but I'm going to get into those characters in just a little bit. But some other characters outside of AJ and Chester, what about Chip Skylark? Chip Skylark can get into the game, showing off his shiny teeth, start destroying people. It'll be really fun to really play with him, and I think he'll be able to use some dance moves to really be able to show out on the battlefield. And his shiny teeth, he's just shiny teeth in me. I remember that from the little song. But see what I'm saying? With characters like him, Chip Skylark, and then Mark Chain, who was the only character that really liked Vicky from the show. They have all that variety. Wandissimo, and then is one particular character. I was going to try to see if I can look his name up really quickly, and someone else had brought up another particular character that I think can really be a good fit for this game for Fairly OddParents DLC. Let me see, because Fairly OddParents has so many great characters. I would have put the tons of characters in the same thumbnail. Let me see. Yeah, here I found it. I just saw it and I haven't have enough time to look him up for a few seconds. Someone mentioned Norm the Genie. Norm the Genie. He's one of the villains. And it's just from some information. He's one of the villains and antagonists in Fairly OddParents. Norm the Genie could be a good character too. So I wanted to mention him as well. You know, outside of the ones that the major ones that I'm going to really be able to get into in just a few seconds. But Norm the Genie, Wandissimo, and I already mentioned Mark Chain, and then and just many others. I think it was some other superhero with a cat costume. I can't remember him, but he was in an orange cat costume. I don't remember the character's name. He can probably also be in this game too. But the list goes on and on with all these characters that can be able to get in from the Fairly OddParents, and some of you guys might have particular favorites. I feel like they all can shine. And just the star of the show himself, Timmy Turner, I wanted to start with him. And I don't think Timmy Turner should come out alone. And I already said this before when I was first talking about him, as you know, for some DLC ideas for his moveset. I think he can play and be able to join this roster with the likes of Wanda, Cosmo, and Wanda. The fairies, the 2 fairies, or his Fairly OddParents, will be able to watch his back and be able to cast different spells. And just like I was saying before, there's not many other, I don't think there's any other characters in this roster that can really be able to cast magic. There's not any sort of characters that have any sort of magic abilities utilizing the power of magic. And Cosmo and Wanda can really be there for Timmy Turner to really be able to play a major key role in Timmy's offense. Not having Timmy Turner coming into the game without his fairy godparents, I don't think that would work. I just don't really think that would work properly with Timmy Turner coming in solo as an individual. He needs to have Cosmo and Wanda by his side and be able to have his just different advantages. And Cosmo and Wanda, I wanted to mention this, like I said a long time ago, you know, in the past, first talking about this character. Timmy Turner coming out as a DLC, you get Cosmo and Wanda an all-in-one purchase for paid DLC, or maybe it's a free character that you can unlock, however they choose to do it. But Cosmo and Wanda can individually have their own spells. So Cosmo can have his own wishes that Timmy can wish for, and both Cosmo and Wanda can have different wishes that they'll be able to grant Timmy to be able to give him an advantage on the fight or in a battlefield. And I'm talking about buffs and different little speed and defensive advantages, stuff like that. They can vary those different sort of abilities and that magic, those magic skills and just different things that he wishes for between Cosmo and Wanda to be able to have, just give him certain advantages. And just a little bit of an idea, similar to how Pokemon Trainer plays, you will be able to swap out between Cosmo and Wanda and whoever is out on the field. The player won't be able to attack Cosmo or Wanda, so they'll be completely invincible. Or maybe they could make them vulnerable, I'll say, so you can be able to attack them, and then they can go on a cooldown period, and Timmy will be completely vulnerable, and you'll be able to deal even more damage to him because his fairy godparents are not going to be around to watch his back. But it's just so many different things that comes to mind with how Timmy Turner can play. But I definitely think the player should be able to swap between Cosmo and Wanda with those different situations, so you can switch between the different fairies, and they're not just having them both available on the field. It sounds a little bit overpowered. But I was thinking about Pokemon Trainer, how you could be able to switch between Charizard, Squirtle, and Ivysaur. Back in Super Smash Bros, you can switch in between the Pokemon, and notice how both Charizard, Ivysaur, and Squirtle, they all had their different abilities and offensive skills. So maybe they can do that as well, and have Cosmo and Wanda also be able to inflict some damage on the opponent while also buffing Timmy to benefit him in the fight, to help him become successful and come out victorious. See what I'm saying? So that, I think that's something that could really be very unique. And that's why I wanted to start with him first, because he has so many different capabilities and different play styles that the devs can really be able to put together for his offense, his move set, or his move pool, whatever you want to call it. I think he has a huge offensive onslaught, just an onslaught of different abilities. And then Cosmo and Wanda, they'll already be able to be easily the biggest distractions in the game. When you go against someone that's playing as Timmy Turner online, or you're just playing local multiplayer, whatever the case may be, they can also be really just dangerous within themselves, and you want to be able to stop them. So they can either make them be hittable, or just being able to be attacked by other players and other fighters in the battle, or they can just be something, or just making sure that he doesn't get his wishes all the way fulfilled. Maybe it can be like a bar where he can just be able to quickly wish for something, and then it'll take some time for Cosmo and Wanda to wear their wands to be able to grant his wish. So see, it's so many different ways that I think he can play, but I definitely think he deserves to come out with Cosmo and Wanda at his side, and they should be all together with him. But that's just the first character. And I know it's been probably quite a few minutes just talking about him, but it's just so many different ways that he can play. So I wanted to talk about I added in another additional villain with Mr. Crocker. And I just think that he has some good abilities himself, and he's giving F's out to the class. It's a projectile. I think that's a good idea for him. We talked about him as well, but he has some cool little offensive capabilities too, throwing pencils and little pieces of paper with F's, and just school supplies, class supplies that can really be able to be unique. And it'd be awesome, just some of the voice lines he said. I think he's one of the funniest characters in the show. And just, really, your parents, he starts freaking out. And just the voice lines, and the fact that we have voice lines in this game with these characters that can talk, the things that Mr. Crocker can say, I think it'll really be a lot of fun to really be able to see what else he's going to say in the fight. And just even when you play the arcade mode, these characters have voice lines that they'll be able to say when a fight is about to begin. Just all the different voice lines that they have with Zim and Powder Toast Man, all the roster in general, it just opens doors for the game to make it even more fun to see some of these newer characters to get in, like Hugh Neutron. Just the things that they say are so iconic, and it references the show. I think Mr. Crocker has a lot of potential too. The same with this next character I wanted to also add in. I put in Trixie Tang, so she could probably be using her makeup and some of her beauty products and beauty supplies to be able to be a little bit different. A different character that I really think can shine in the roster and be a good rep from the Fairly Odd Parents show. Trixie Tang, I don't know, some of y'all wanted to see her into the game as well and think that she could be a good pick from Fairly Odd Parents as another additional rep. But maybe her friend Veronica can also be able to get in. But I think Trixie Tang will have a bigger role and be a better pick over Veronica for this roster for character potential and all the moveset and just capability that she can do and be in this game. So maybe she could have some kind of, just throwing it out there, she could probably have some kind of technique that can really be able to mobilize the character. You see what I mean? Just stun them. Just with her beauty products and stuff. I think that'll be really nice to see the developers really put that together for Trixie Tang. Now, this particular character, Doug Dimmadome, the owner of Dimmadome. Well, the Dimmadome itself. But it'll be really fun to see him in this game too. Really funny to see. And why not have Doug Dimmadome come out with just with Dimmadome, you know, just with as a brand new stage. Have Doug Dimmadome come out with the Dimmadome itself as a little stage, and I can already visually see that being into the game. If not this game, maybe a future title. I would love to see that happen. And I just want to open up the stages real quick.
Rocco.
I just picked random, went straight to Rocco.
Select your stage.
But just see all these different, and you got all the space. The Dimmadome could be able to get into this game and come out with Doug Dimmadome. Don't y'all think? And if it's not with Doug Dimmadome, it could come out as Timmy Turner, well, with Timmy Turner, and all these different stages. Fairy World, I just finished talking about the Dimmadome, Fairy World, and just different things like that. I think those are the two most iconic stages that can come out, or maybe somewhere in the city of Dimsdale itself, which is the main setting for the show. But I would love to see Fairy World. See how this looks? This is just Garfield stage. Which, can you imagine? See, look, just look at the background. It makes you almost think like it can be like something similar to what Fairy World could be like. You know, just outside, just taking away the candy out of the sky. The Fairy World will look really good in this game. And then Dimsdale. So you're traveling, when you go through the traffic jam, this is from Hey Arnold. This is from the streets of New York, or from basically its setting. It's in New York City. But you can have the city of Dimsdale right in the background with a Timmy Turner DLC, or just any sort of Fairly Odd Parents DLC with some of these characters. And Mr. Crocker come out, he have his classroom. That could be something that could be more ideal in the background. They got all these different options. But if I'm coming out with Fairly Odd Parents DLC, I'm definitely getting my hands on that Dimsdale Dimmadome or Fairy World. Those are just I think those would be some of the best iconic stages. But just with Doug Dimmadome, even if he's not in the game, you can still be able to get his area, you know, the Dimsdale Dimmadome for it. I just really hope they can get access to these characters, because these are some of my most wanted characters, or just a show that I want to see get into the game and be able to shine. You know what I mean? So just with all these different characters,
Your fighter.
they got all the potential still. Let me just say this: they won't even need a sequel when you can just keep on expanding. But if there is a sequel, I hope they all be able to stay in. They retain all these characters from the roster to be able to get in, and then they can expand with Fairly Odd Parents DLC for starters. And I don't know what's going on. I thought they were associated, just real quick, I thought they were associated with My Life as a Teenage Robot, the same licensing and the rights sort of thing. I could be wrong. Was it My Life as a Teenage Robot and Danny Phantom? I think it was one of these two shows. But I guess someone could correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if it was Danny Phantom or Jenny's World or Jenny's Show. So My Life as a Teenage Robot or Danny Phantom, that's also associated with the same rights and licensing with Fairly Odd Parents. I could be wrong, but I really hope they all get in, or at least get one of these characters to be able to get some kind of representation. They're all single reps from Zim to Rocco, just like I always say, so you could be able to get more. But this pack in particular is all about Fairly Odd Parents. I really hope that they get in the near future. We'll have to see what happens. Sure, it's going to take a little bit longer, it'll probably be more difficult, but it'll probably most likely happen in the sequel, if anything.